I've been meaning to do this video since it got announced, guys, and looks like it's finally here. The fight that everybody has been waiting for, including myself. It's actually the #1 fight at the very top of my list over fights like Canelo Benavidez, which recently got announced that he's gonna fight Jermell. But we'll talk about that in a later video. But Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence, Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford, however you want to put it. That's the fight, man. That's the fight that I've been speculating it was going to be a big fight since 2016, because I knew deep down in my heart that Terence Crawford was actually going to come up to 147 eventually. And I knew that Errol Spence was going to be at the top of 147 by the time that Terence Crawford would be around that division. So it's only natural that it would be like one of the best fights to make in boxing. And not only that, but skill for skill, I think this is one of the best matchups in the entire sport. And I've been saying that for years. Every day, I always try to think to myself, when will this fight happen? But no more. So it's finally here. And let's talk about it, man. Errol Spence. I've been watching Errol Spence for years. Since I was in high school. Now that I think about it, man, before he even became a champion, when I was just finishing up high school, and I was watching Terence Crawford around that time as well. So I've been watching these guys for years. But at the same time, I'm not a newbie to the sport because I'm able to absorb knowledge, and a vast amount of knowledge to be exact, compared to the average fan that takes in a certain amount of knowledge that they only want to hear, instead of looking at all of the aspects of boxing, from a historical standpoint, from whatever standpoint it is, like from 70s to early 2000s to 2010s. I always try to absorb the knowledge as much as I can, so that way I could improve what I'm actually looking at in the ring, So over the years, I've been looking at these two, and they're definitely skill for skill one of the best fighters in the sport. And I don't think Errol Spence gets enough credit for his skill set, like certain tactics that he does in the ring, from his defense to his offense. And it's not that superficial that everyone thinks of Errol Spence as this like body puncher, because there's more to the madness, And Errol Spence is very tactical, He's fundamentally sound, easily one of the best fighters at doing that right now. And Terence Crawford, I mean, he's definitely skill for skill, one of the top fighters in the sport as well. But I think these two are on the same level, Terence Crawford, Errol Spence. Both of these guys, I think, play into each other. But I'm going to tell you this, guys, for those of you that are new to the channel, the brief outline that I'm about to give y'all isn't the prediction. The prediction is coming the week of the fight. So those of you that are tuning in right now, I'm not going to give out my prediction. I'm just going to give you my thoughts on the entire fight. And basically, I've been looking at the press conferences. I've been looking at this entire saga that has been unfolding for the past 5 years, ever since Terence Crawford moved up to 147 pounds. And I knew deep down that it was going to be in an undisputed matchup. Like, I didn't really believe that Terence Crawford would fight Errol Spence immediately after winning that WBO from Jeff Horn. I thought it would play out a little more differently, where Terence Crawford would climb up, up to Errol Spence and fight, Keith Thurman, maybe Manny Pacquiao in between. And there was supposed to be a fight between Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence, but Errol Spence got that eye injury. So Ugas stepped in, and Ugas took the belt off of Manny Pacquiao, because Ugas was the regular champion around that time, and Manny Pacquiao had beaten Keith Thurman for the Super Championship. So it's a lot that has been processed, and I thought Terence Crawford's journey, I'm not going to lie, was going to be a little bit more rougher, than I expected, because I thought he would actually be the one to fight Keith Thurman before fighting Errol Spence. because I didn't see Errol Spence fighting Keith Thurman, man, because of that whole situation that happened back in 2015 where Keith Thurman didn't want to give him a shot. And you know how that situation went for those of you that were around that time. Definitely Terence Crawford. He's definitely climbed up to 147, acclimated, I should say. I shouldn't say climbed up. I meant to say acclimated for the past 5 years. And Errol Spence, he's been up here, man. You know, he's been taking a lot of O's. You know, he's beat Ugas. He definitely beat Sean Porter. Sean Porter had already lost, but Sean Porter had already became a champion when he beat Danny Garcia. And Danny Garcia was in that equation, you know, fighting Errol Spence. And I really thought this fight between Crawford and Spence would happen like back in 2020, but the whole pandemic happened and it took a long time, man. Like I thought that this fight was going to be on the back burner for at least another year or so, but it took like another 3 years. And I thought, oh man, yeah, it's going to be one of those fights where they're just going to wait until they're older. And they're still in their early 30s, mid 30s, you know. Terence Crawford is already going to turn 36 this year, so but at least we're getting the fight right now. I mean, it is what it is. We just got to deal with it. I'm not going to sit in the corner and cry about it because we're already getting the fight. But my opinion hasn't really changed on it. And I already made my prediction a long time ago, even after Terence Crawford went up to 147 pounds. I already knew that Terence Crawford was going to perform a certain way at 147 pounds, you know, where he was going to dominate, you know, most of the opponents that he's had. I mean, Sean Porter was probably his toughest fight, but I knew Terence Crawford would come out of it, and the last two people that were going to be remaining was always going to be Errol Spence and Terence Bud Crawford. And Errol Spence, offensively, I think has enough tools in the bag to beat Terence Crawford. And Terence Crawford has enough tools. I mean, obviously, everybody always talks about the switch hitting and the skill set that he had at 140 pounds. But this is a whole different landscape for him at this time, especially during his age right now. I mean, I don't really see too much of a decline in Terence Crawford as much as everybody likes to say, you know. And I don't really see a decline in Errol Spence. Matter of fact, Errol Spence impressed me with that Ugas performance, if you ask me. So it kind of went back to a 50-50 fight. And obviously you had the accident that Errol Spence was in, but that was a long time ago. I just don't understand how everybody just goes back to that all the time, because it's already been 2 fights, 2 hard fights, you know, Danny Garcia, Ugas. At that point, you should have already seen like Errol Spence crumble, you know, after an accident like that, but apparently not, you know. Dominated Danny Garcia, dominated Ugas. Obviously, he had that little scare in between rounds against Ugas, but I don't see Errol Spence making that same mistake against Bud. But if he does, obviously, man, he's gonna be in big trouble. But at the same time, man, like, I believe in Errol Spence's mentality, is his will, his resolve has gotten extremely powerful since that accident, if you ask me. The accident made him a lot more better mentally as a fighter. His resolve, like I said before, and I think he really needed that, especially going into the Terence Crawford fight. You know, all the stuff that he's been through over the years, and all the stuff that Terence Crawford has been through over the years too, man, because Terence Crawford hasn't had it easy himself too much either, you know, as much as Errol Spence. He wasn't in an accident, but there were certain situations that Terence Crawford went through, you know, mainly from a business standpoint, trying to get some of these big fights at 147 pounds. But we could delve into that a lot, but we have the fight right here in front of us, so we gotta see what happens, man. But don't sleep on Errol Spence's skill set, y'all. You know, like his ability to gut distance, his other abilities that he can box, you know, obviously that we saw in the Mikey Garcia fight. But there's a lot to break down as the weeks follow, you know, being that it's already 4 weeks away. So definitely let me know what y'all think. And yeah, man, we're gonna talk about it a lot more as the fight goes on, with its promotion and all the press conferences. And personally, I think that both of these guys uh, don't really have that much in their arsenal in terms of like being like big trash talkers like that. Like the guys at 135 pounds, you know, that talk real crazy. But these guys are a lot more older. They're not in their 20s anymore. So it's kind of expected that they really don't talk like that. But at the same time, I think Errol Spence naturally is the better talker out of them two than Terence Crawford. But I don't know like how that's gonna reflect on the fight. Maybe it might have an effect, but personally, these guys are way too old for that. It's not like if it was Teofimo and Devin Haney, then somewhat I would be a little bit more focused on that. But since it's two different personalities compared to two other different personalities like that, then I don't really see it that way personally. But let me know what y'all think. Who do y'all got in the fight? If y'all are willing to give your predictions in the comment section. And what do y'all think, man, overall of this whole saga? And I'm also attending the fight the day that it actually happens. So I'll be in Vegas July 29th, y'all. And if y'all see me, y'all already know what it is. I don't know if y'all remember seeing my picture or anything like that, but obviously in my avatar. But hey, man, it's going to be a great fight, and I really don't want to miss it. It's going to be the first boxing event that I've ever been to in my entire life, believe it or not. Because, yeah, man, I didn't have that much money growing up, man, you know, like to go to these boxing events. And I wasn't a boxing fan when I was a kid during the time. So this is going to be the first event that I go to, man, you know. So, yeah, man, let me know what y'all think. Are y'all going to the fight? Are y'all going to order it on pay-per-view? Do y'all think that the winner is going to be the number one pound-for-pound fighter? Truly the number one pound-for-pound fighter? There's not going to be a debate anymore for the next couple of years at least, as soon as one of these guys wins. So let me know what y'all think about that one, because I personally think so. It's going to be a while. You know, maybe one of the guys at 135 pounds in the future will be the pound-for-pound number one. But personally, I think this fight is going to determine that. So let me know what y'all think. Who do y'all got? If y'all want to care to elaborate, at least before you make the prediction. And yeah, man, can't wait, man. July 29th in Vegas. I'll be there. Peace.